This is Tim McDonald, Community Manager for Talent Culture, which is the home for TChat Radio and also TChat on Twitter. And today we have a very special guest, Judy Martin. How are you doing, Judy?
I'm good. I'm coming to you from a very dark New York, but it's okay. At least, it's dry. That's what matters right now.
And you are from Work Life Nation, and the topic that we're going to be discussing really is kind of the work-life balance that all of us in the workplace and in leadership positions should be looking at as ways that we can really, I think, help ourselves and our businesses that we're in. So let me ask you first, before we get into that topic, how long have you actually been part of the talent culture community?
I think pretty much from day one, I was sort of a voyeur. And then Megan and I spoke a couple of times. It was a real natural fit because leadership inherently, by its nature, they have to be like that Eagle Scout looking out for their crew and the overseer of the workplace. Not that they always are, but certainly being in a position of leadership, you've got to look at work-life issues. So talent culture to me was the place to be, just really a perfect fit. So I guess it was whenever you guys started Talent Chat, that's when I kind of slipped in, and I slipped in on the blog phase as well. And you've gone through some iterations, which I have followed along with, very excitedly so, I have to say, because talent cultures really changed things for me.
Well, we just celebrated our 2-year anniversary. I'm fairly new to the talent culture community. So, really, if there's one little quick thing that you can tell me and everybody else, what exactly does talent culture mean to you?
Very specifically, it goes beyond community. There are a lot of Twitter chats out there. And I have fuddled around, as I think a lot of people have. But what I noticed about talent culture, that it wasn't just about the connections that you make. I mean, it always springs into new things. But also the connections you can make beyond the connections, beyond the connections. And what I mean by that is you never know who you're talking to, and how that person might, somehow have some insight or wisdom on your craft, or know the person to connect you to if you're looking. I'm a writer, I'm a journalist, a broadcast journalist, so I'm writing about work-life culture and have been since, way, way back, well over 10 years. And what I noticed is, connecting to one person, as I said, connects you not only to people, but information. And because of information technology now, it's not just this ladder and a network of people call so-and-so. It's a lattice. It's like a holographic look into the way leadership is evolving on the web and, in fact, in the workplace. So for me, it's just every time I go on there, I never know what's going to emerge. I look at Twitter chats as, I kind of look at it through the lens of chaos theory. This idea that you have this kind of a linear event, and then there were these little aberrations. Well, what pops up from those aberrations? That's chaos theory. That's an unprecedented find or get. And that's what I find with TChat, and that has really helped catapult me, not only in my career, and I really mean that, but in the product and the material that I'm bringing to my audience.
Great, and obviously the Twitter chat, TChat, is on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and then we just started back up the TChat radio show, which is on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And so you're going to be one of our guests both on the radio show and on the Twitter chat, which we are so glad to have you join us as being one of the original members of the talent culture community. And we're going to be talking about that work-life balance. So why is having a work-life balance so important?
Well, we use work-life balance, quote unquote, now because that's part of the vernacular that has been in place since, if you can go back to, I can bring home the bacon right up in a pan. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yes.
So it was a women's issue. You go back to the 70s, and now work-life balance initiatives, as they're called quite often in corporate culture, has become so much more important, and it's really because of technology. It's because of technology and also the way that we have evolved as a workforce. If you go back to what I call the career chaos economy of 2008 when the recession hit and everyone went out, things went down the toilet, jobs went down the toilet for a lot of professionals, white-collar workers. People were reinventing themselves. They had to figure out how they were going to make a living, and also they knew they'd be living well beyond their boomer age because their 401ks were in the toilet and there was no such thing as a pension anymore. So the work-life balance, the idea of that work-life merge became very important because we weren't looking toward retirement. We were looking toward how are we going to make work and life last well beyond the 40s, 50s, and 60s, because we all have to kind of work for the most part, unless you're part of that 1%. So, right? So,
well, if we were part of that 1%, we wouldn't be part of the majority of the 90%.
Yeah, right. We'd be on a beach somewhere right now, Tim. Let me tell you, after Hurricane Sandy, I'm ready for a break. That's for sure. But
I know we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about during the radio show and the Twitter chat, right? So, and I think I'm a big proponent of making sure that my work and my life, I'm happy doing what I love, because
that's work and wife.
More. My what?
Did you say work and wife?
Work and life.
Oh, I thought you said wife. Oh.
No. Well, I do love her too, but
here you go.
I love doing everything, whether it's personal, whether it's work related. I like having a good time at what I do. And so I feel like it's becoming more challenging to be able to do that, though, right? So and we're not going to tackle everything right now, because this is just a really quick snapshot of what we're going to be discussing next week. So what is like one simple thing that we can kind of start doing right now to kind of bring together that work-life balance for us?
What you just mentioned, doing what you love, and that has to do with vocation. And there might be something in your work that you really love. What's that part of the day that you really enjoy? And to focus a little bit more on that. For some people, it might be giving presentations. For others, it's actually, that hanging out with a coffee clutch or hanging out the water cooler. But for a lot of people, it's also taking a break in your day. We don't do that enough. And when you stop, your brain flips. It switches a little bit depending on what you're doing. And if you can relax a little bit, then you're releasing certain hormones like serotonin, endorphins, dopamine, which not only take you a notch down, but make you a little bit happier in your workday. So the one thing I would say is find a way to stop in your workday and do something that you love. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it's, I have a prop, lavender oil, which actually, honestly, will take your stress down a notch. Maybe it's going to YouTube and look at some pictures of baby animals, which has been shown to slow down the nervous system a little bit and trigger the relaxation response. So that's the one takeaway that I always would have to talk about. I'm a meditator. I'm a yoga person. Sometimes you can just do a little stretching at work. So you got to find what works for you.
So I would say, before you come join us next Tuesday and Wednesday, Tuesday at 7:30 and Wednesday at 7, go get some lavender oil and start watching some YouTube videos.
Yes. Go to worklifenation.com. And by the way, Callie Yost, will be joining us too, the author of Tweak It, that book that's coming out in January. I'm one of the 50 experts in the book, and she is a jewel and a great colleague. So we both look forward to joining you on Tuesday.
Well, fantastic. I can't wait, and thank you so much for giving us a little opportunity to get a little sneak preview of what we're going to be discussing. And I certainly am looking forward to hearing you on Tuesday and seeing you on Twitter on Wednesday.
Great.